What's going on, you guys? TBR here, back yet again with another King of Fighters All-Star video, and happy Monday to all of you. I hope you all enjoyed your weekends. Why do I always say happy Monday? Is there even such a thing as a happy Monday? Mondays suck. In this week's installment of the weekly subscriber Q&A, we are going to be taking a look at a couple of community tab polls that I did over there that you guys absolutely came out in droves for. We're going to be taking a look at those, as well as, of course, taking a look at some of your comments and your questions and just having some fun. But before we go ahead and get into all of that more, make sure you guys smash that like button and subscribe if you enjoy daily King of Fighters All-Star content. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. Cue that intro. Alright, you guys, now before we go ahead and get into the comments, I do want to go ahead and quickly talk about two community polls over on my community tab. Now, big shout out to all of you guys, as always, for responding to these polls in huge numbers. Tons of votes on these things, and I definitely appreciate you guys because it lets me know kind of where the community is when it comes to some of these topics. So the first thing I want to go ahead and take a look at here is going to be this one that I did a few weeks ago. Now, this was a follow-up. We had done one of these previously that was very similar to this. In fact, we can even take a look at it here. As you guys can see, we had previously done one of these polls with around the same amount of votes, where we had asked right around the time that the Street Fighter V collaboration dropped whether or not you guys enjoyed the update. And at the time, there was a 52% amount of you that were saying yes, 8% said no, 9% said not sure, and then a whopping 31% said still deciding. So that whopping 31% there was the reason why I did a follow-up poll closer to the end of the collaboration. And as you guys can see, the numbers definitely shifted quite a bit 2 weeks later after everybody had gotten a chance to see everything, because when I had posted that original poll, we still had not even seen the update for the Volume 2 banner, so there was still quite a few question marks there. So let's take a look at it now that the dust has settled and we are now removed from that collaboration. So I had asked you guys again, do you like the Street Fighter V collaboration? And we had over 1K votes, so again, big shout out to you guys. And as you guys can see, the final results are as follows. We had a 78% vote for yes, you guys did enjoy the collaboration. 14% said no, and then 8% said I don't care about it. So, in general, what can we surmise from this other than that 8% of the population of this game is crazy? Well, I'm just kidding.
Not really.
But anyway, when it comes to this vote, at the end of the day, I think that the things that you can pretty much derive from this are pretty much what I've said from the beginning. I don't think that there's very many players in this game that don't like Street Fighter and didn't want to see it as a collaboration and weren't going to be easily pleased. The problem is there was still going to be quite a few problems, and if you go through the comment section of any of these polls when it comes to the Street Fighter V collaboration, you're going to find that even the vast majority of the people that voted yes on this still had a big amount of issues when it comes to this collaboration. So at the end of the day, I hope Netmarble takes some of what people have said to them when it comes to the constructive criticism, and they take it to heart and they work on the next one and try to apply some of the critiques that people gave it. Because to be honest with you guys, I do feel like the Street Fighter V collaboration was a regression by comparison to the Guilty Gear collab, and I do feel like a lot of people feel that way, even if most people were still overall enjoying that collaboration, because at the end of the day, again, it was Street Fighter, and we all enjoy Street Fighter, we all love Street Fighter in this game, except for this 8%, which whatever, but at the end of the day, it's one of those things where I do feel like Netmarble does need to right the ship with a couple of things for the next one, and hopefully we end up getting to the point where we're kind of all happy overall with implementation. But at the same time, it is what it is. 78% is a big number, so I think Netmarble, at the end of the day, if you were to show them these numbers, they would take that as a win. So take it for what you will. But again, thank you guys for voting on that one. Now, we had one other one here, and this is going to be a completely different topic, but a very important one. So I had asked you guys, have you ever gotten a BS or an SS generic memory from the Inferno guild raid boxes? Even more people showed up for this vote than on that previous poll. We had 1.2k votes on this thing. And the reason why this is important to me is because this is the first time I think we've had a really good gauge of kind of what the overall rates are with these things as far as people actually getting any of these memories. And so I was kind of curious what denomination of the player base had actually gotten one. Now, I've gotten one SS generic memory in the past, but that's it. So I would have voted yes on this, but let's see what the numbers look like. So we have 37% of you who said yes, you have gotten either a SS or a BS generic memory from the Inferno guild raid boxes. 48% voted for no. 11% said they cannot clear Inferno. And then 5% said they don't play Inferno. So, interesting. I want to focus on the yes and the no here for the most part, because really when it comes to I can't clear Inferno, that could be anything. That could be new players, it could be players in guilds that haven't even unlocked Inferno. I've heard a lot about that. And in general, when it comes to these two things, I'm not really all that interested in going into these numbers as much, because to be honest, there isn't as much as we can take away here. But when it comes to the yes and no vote, where the majority of the votes went, there's quite a bit you can derive from that. So 37% voted for yes, they have obtained at least one memory from these, and then 48% voted for no. So almost 50% of us have not gotten one of these. So when you go through the comment section of this poll, it's interesting to me that you'll have so many people that will say things such as, I've only gotten X amount of BS memories and only gotten X amount of SS memories and so on from these, when almost half of the players who voted out of that 1,200 plus haven't even gotten one. So I think what you can pretty much take away from this is when it comes to these types of things with these memories, count yourself very lucky if you end up getting some of them, especially if you get multiples, because at the end of the day, there are a lot of players out there that can't even get one. And so that pretty much tells you how scarce they can be at times. And so at the end of the day, it's going to be one of those situations where I do feel like, unfortunately, we still are not in the best place overall with these generic memories, especially now that we're going to be moving away seemingly from SS and BS memories being as necessary as it would be as if we would need maybe an EX memory. So being that as it is, I do feel like they need to start maybe making these things a little less scarce, considering the fact that they're planning on power creeping BS and SS with the EX system anyway. But at the same time, I did find this very eye-opening, considering the fact I would have never guessed that almost 50% of the players had not even received one of these. So very, very interesting stuff. I just thought that this was an interesting poll. So thank you guys for voting on this thing. As always, it definitely gives me a lot of insight into how you guys are doing, how the community is doing. So big shout out to you guys. But with that being said, let's get to some comments. Carl Eichholtz asks, are you nest egging your rubies for anything? So to answer your question, Carl, yes. But to elaborate, I don't know what I'm saving for at this point. So to be honest with you guys, right now I'm kind of in a weird position. Right now, just based on what I had to spend with the Street Fighter V collaboration, I'm just in save mode. So I'm really not necessarily all that excited for EX Kyo right now. I think that it is kind of poorly timed for everybody involved. So really, in general, I'm not necessarily planning on spending a ton on EX Kyo's banner. I might spend my limited login rubies on him to maybe try to get a copy. However, really what I'm mainly eyeballing with this next banner is going to be the card banner, because I'm really kind of waiting to see if we get EX card support, kind of like what we've seen in the past with SS and BS. I would really like to see if we get that option card that we know we're eventually going to get, kind of like what we have with SS and BS, where we have the crit option card that is going to have cooldown reduction. I would really like to see that for EX characters. So I'm kind of waiting to see what we get for cards with this next banner so I can plan my limited login rubies. But I'm not planning on necessarily right now, as of the making of this video, going for Kyo. Now, other characters down the road I'm definitely waiting for, the same ones I've always mentioned. However, now that we know KOF 15 is now going to be implemented into this game, that definitely opens more doors for more characters that I'm interested in. Specifically, Cronin is a character that I really want to see added into this game. And it's also a character that I would definitely be trying to A5. So right now I feel like the pressure is more so on just saving for something that I'm a big fan of, and that is definitely not necessarily going to be this next banner, because as much as I like Kyo, and I think this Kyo is awesome looking so far from what little we've seen, I just don't have the rubies to make that work. So there is a good chance that I may just end up spending the limited login rubies and just being done. I don't know yet, but that's what it's looking like just based on what we have, unless we get something crazy that gives us a bunch of rubies here in the next few weeks. But to answer your question concisely, Carl, yes, I am nest egging for something, which, by the way, you guys can let me know in the comment section. Is there something you're specifically saving for, especially now that we know KOF 15 is something that we have to consider when we prep and save our rubies? So definitely let me know in the comments section if you have a favorite you're waiting on. But thank you for the comment, Carl. And let's move on to the next one. I had to go ahead and highlight this comment from Bitmap Books because this is the publisher behind that awesome history book that we talked about for the King of Fighters on the Saturday Chat and Chill this past week, which if you haven't seen, link in the description if you want to check it out. But Bitmap Books did go ahead and respond in the comments section, which I thought was really cool. They said thank you so much and gave us 5 stars. Would you look at that? So I just wanted to go ahead and lay this out and point this out because I think it's really cool that they are so hands-on with the community, and I think that you guys should definitely check out that book. There will be a link in the description to the Saturday Chat and Chill so you guys can check out that Ultimate History for the King of Fighters book that will be coming out later on next month. So I really think that you guys, if you're King of Fighters fans, should definitely check it out. But big shout out to Bitmap Books for laying out that comment there. I appreciate it, you guys, and I look forward to hopefully getting hands on that book, fingers crossed. 1032 Patrick says, oh really, they only gave us 4K rubies. Speaking of the limited login ruby event currently going on. I thought we were going to have a rerun, but nope, so nerfed rubies. So when it comes to this new ruby login event, a lot of people have been commenting about this, and that's why I wanted to go ahead and highlight this particular comment. So, but thank you 1032 Patrick for that. When it comes to this new limited login ruby thing that they've got going on for the 4K that we've get, I think we get the final one today if we've been logging in every day. But when it comes to this, I do think that the reason why we have 4K coming in is because this is going to be the new standard for the EX banners. Why they would decide to nerf the amount when people are already kind of upset about the EX thing and don't necessarily like the idea and are concerned about the potential change of numbers when it comes to rates and so on and so forth, comparatively speaking to what we spoke about in the past for things like normal SS and BS banners. I really don't get it. It's a weird Netmarble-y thing to do, isn't it? That's just what Netmarble does, but people have pointed this out, talked about this, complained about this, and brought it up a million times. And I totally get it, but I think we need to prepare ourselves mentally for the fact that this is probably going forward going to be the amount we see when it comes to EX banners. So time will tell, maybe they'll change it, maybe this is a one-time thing, but considering the fact that this is probably the worst timing that they possibly could have had, considering we're all, again, very broke from the Street Fighter V collaboration and living in cardboard boxes, basically. Yeah, it's one of those things where I don't get it either, and I totally agree with people out there that are upset about it, because if anything, I think it would have made more sense to have increased it, even though that would never have happened. But hey, you know, there's a reason why I'm the guy just talking into a microphone on the other end of the world, and they're the ones making a lot of money, so maybe I don't know as much as I thought I did. That hurts. So Ninja X says, why give 5 times summon instead of 10 times when you just get bronze and silver border characters either way? I know that feeling. Should be token instead of tickets, at least, to contribute to the pity. Thank you for the comment, So Ninja X. I completely agree with you 100%, and this is based. This is pretty much exactly how I feel about this anytime that they do this. I will never understand why they just give us 5 of... Sometimes they give us like 3 or 5 or whatever it is that they do, depending on what it is that we earned them for. So I don't really get it. I had mentioned this in this particular video. Why not just give us a multi? Is it really that big of a deal? Netmarble is very odd with the way that they ration these things out, and I really don't understand it either. The token thing would be way more preferable because, as you outline here, it contributes to the pity. But again, as I said, I believe in this video that you commented on, this is Netmarble we're talking about. They wouldn't be that nice. Ethan T says, why does he do shame in the beginning? Because they're a bunch of filthy cheaters. Are you one of the filthy cheaters, Ethan? Is that why you're asking? Did I offend you because you're a filthy cheater? Just kidding, Ethan. I don't think you're a filthy cheater. Unless you are. If you are, then you totally deserve the shame. Chamba Palomike? I'm so sorry, I'm probably butchering that, but shout out to you, Chamba, because I see you in the comments a lot. 3PG looks better than the KOF 15 version, LOL. Speaking of the new EX Kyo 3PG finisher that they revealed, I actually kind of agree with this, to be honest. Now, obviously, the graphics aren't as good, right? Because, I mean, you're comparing a console game to a mobile game. However, as far as the animation of it, because they added in those different angles, those different camera angles to the 3PG card finisher for KOF All-Star versus what we see in KOF 15, I actually kind of tend to agree with this comment. I had actually mentioned in that video that I thought that it kind of looked really, really good by comparison. And yeah, I think that that actually added quite a bit. So as always, we can complain all we want about certain things at Netmarble, but when it comes to the animation department, they knock it out of the park 9 times out of 10. So definitely agree with you on this, as much as I hate to say it. S.TCG asks, do you think Mortal Kombat is too dark or gory for a crossover? They could obviously exclude fatalities, etc., but I always wonder. There's so many more crossovers that are more PG that they do prior though, like One Piece seems highly likely. Not to get into the nitty-gritty like One Piece and all that other stuff, but to answer the initial question, I do not think that Mortal Kombat is too gory. I do think that they would tone it down, but I think that it would be a situation where if Mortal Kombat, put it this way, if they had NetherRealms come to them and be like, hey, yeah, we're cool with you using our stuff, what do you want, here's what our prices are, blah, 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 I don't know how all the negotiations work, you know what I mean. But if they were to basically extend the olive branch to NetherRealms and ask them for maybe to use some of the characters from Mortal Kombat, and they were to say yes, I don't think that they would balk at that. You know, yes, the dark, gory aspect of Mortal Kombat is pretty inherent with their stuff, but at the same time, I could see them toning it back, I could see them changing things, so I don't necessarily think it's a total non-starter. That being said, I do think that because of that, it's probably less likely that they would even consider them. So, I don't know, it's kind of one of those things I guess I don't have a great answer on, because obviously I don't work for Netmarble.
Or do I?
But at the same time, I do think that there is a potential there that one day it could happen, especially considering how many fighting IPs we've already seen. So I think that maybe Netmarble is pretty much kind of treating these fighting game IPs kind of like Pokemon. It's like they've got to catch them all. But it's going to be one of those ones that might end up being kind of their white whale, so to speak, in the capacity that it might be the one of those IPs that they never end up getting in here, even though we've already gotten most of the major ones that are active. You know, people keep bringing up things like Virtua Fighter and Soul Calibur and so on. These are fighting game, and Primal Roar was another one that I've heard quite a bit. Or Bloody Roar, rather, Primal Roar. I was thinking Primal Rage, which was another one that people have brought up in the past. But there's a lot of these other IPs, but these other IPs, a lot of the ones that we haven't gotten yet, that people have mentioned, aren't necessarily active IPs that are getting new games or have current games that are running that are really popular and so on. So while I do think that all of those ideas are great, and while I think that there is a potential for anything to happen at this point, I mean, hell, we didn't think Street Fighter V could happen, but it did. So it's one of those things where you never say never, but at the same time, I don't think that the gore would be the main factor. I think that's doable, but we'll see. We'll see. Abyssal Hearts writes, so sad no set or special card reruns in reference to the Chizuru event. Yep, I agree. I've already complained about this, and yeah, Netmarble. What the hell were you thinking? You're gonna rerun a character and not rerun their 3PG?
What the hell?
But anyway, you guys, that is going to be this week's installment of the subscriber Q&A. I hope you all found it enjoyable, informative, whatever it is that you come here looking for with these videos. If you guys leave a comment in the comment section, who knows, maybe I'll read your comment here live on the channel in the next one. But definitely make sure that you guys smash that like button and subscribe if you enjoyed it. And until the next one, you guys take care. Peace.
Continue.